all the people who have liked him and who have followed him and who are very close to him, one thing that's common is that they said that initially they felt that Aindra Prabhu was very, how do you say, very, in very layman terms, very harsh and very rude personality. But as and when they got closer to him, they came to know that his heart is as soft as butter. Right now, Durgam Prabhu said a lot of things. His Hindi is way better. I cannot speak in that way, but I try to express as much as possible. Aindra Prabhu is one of, first of all, how many devotees here know Aindra Prabhu? And then know Aindra Prabhu even like deeper, have read about him or have heard more about him? You can raise hands higher. Okay, so there are a vast majority of devotees who don't know. So Aindra Prabhu is Srila Prabhupada's disciple, and he was born and brought up in Arlington, Virginia, in the United States. And Prabhu's coming to Krishna consciousness, just like we ask all our devotees, Prabhu, how did you come to Krishna consciousness? How did you come to Krishna consciousness? Because we get inspired by how devotees took up the movement. Aindra Prabhu's moment taking up Krishna conscious was rather very, I would say, very inspiring and many lessons to be learned. So, in brief, so Aindra Prabhu comes from a family of musicians. He used to play the flute, he used to play the guitar, he used to play some other instruments which I can't even pronounce because there's some. And he was his family, his father used to play, was a musician, his brother is a musician, his mother was a musician, and they were very much into arts and creative type of work. So in one sense, you can say Aindra Prabhu was a born musician. Any instrument you gave it to him, he would just know how to play it, right? In today's day, even if somebody gave us kartal, it's very difficult to play the 3-beat. It takes so much effort. Some devotees here used to tell me, oh, I get trained every day to play 3-beat kartal, and still so difficult to play. So it seems Aindra Prabhu and his girlfriend were there they were just in the olden days in all over North America. I think even in Toronto for that matter, they used to have a lot of kirtan on the streets, in downtown especially. So when Aindra Prabhu first met the kirtan party, there were 20 mridanga players and 16 kartal players playing Hari Nam on the streets of the United States. Today you don't see that. If you hear, now you heard 2 devotees play Mridanga and it was already very powerful, but imagine 20 devotees playing Mridanga simultaneously. So the kirtan was way, way vibrant that time, and they were preaching on the streets of New York, and Aindra Prabhu was pulled. So he just went to ask a card from them to see what they're saying, and he just got taken along with them into the temple. He didn't even know he was going with the temple. They were walking and doing kirtan. If to give a proper explanation, how many of you have taken a TTC in downtown, the train, TTC? Many times in rush hour, you don't know who's taking you inside and who's throwing you outside. Is that true? Right? So that's what used to happen. So he just went to ask for a card, and then he ended up in the temple. And when he came to the temple, he was very scared of going into the temple because he thought that, oh, looking at all these people, they might ask me to give up something to come to the temple, and I'm not ready to give up anything. So somehow or the other, he came up to the temple, and then he was very interested, and they gave him chanting beads, and they said, you chant this, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And then like all the Westerners of the 60s and 70s, they were always exposed to some sort of yoga, right? So, and they told him that, ideally you should chant 16 rounds, but you start with like 1 round and 2 rounds and etc. So when he sat down for chanting, he crossed his leg and he sat in a typical yoga position. You know how yogis sit, cross their legs, and he chanted Hare Krishna Maha Mantra like this. Hare Krishna. Just like how we chant Om. Om. So he thought that, how are these people chanting 16 rounds, but after half an hour I only finished 8 beats, and I have 100 beats left to go. So he was wondering about this, and then he was so consistent, he chanted like that for 45 minutes. Many of us would drop it after the first beat. Is that true? Or true? It's true. Okay. So Aindra Prabhu was a very powerful personality, and then he went to the temple. He was named Edward Stryker at that time. He went to the temple, and then he said, and somehow he was interested, somehow he was very much interested in Krishna consciousness, and he asked the temple devotees, can I join you? Those were the days when you could go into the temple, stay in the temple, and teach. Not so much today. But so they said, yeah, you can come to the temple. So his girlfriend said that, how can you just leave me and go to the temple, right? How can you just leave me, and we're in a relationship for so long, how can you leave me? So because his girlfriend said that, you have to stay back, so he stayed back. But after some time, he was reading a lot of Ishopanishad and so many of Prabhupada's books. So then one day he woke up and he told his girlfriend, I have to go home back to Godhead. If you want to come with me, you're coming with me. If you're not coming with me, then I have to go alone. That's what he said. And then she said, no, I cannot come with you. And then he just walked up. In history, this is supposed to be one of the best breakups in the world, where nobody got hurt. He was not hurt because he never thought about her. She was not hurt because she moved along. And it was so quick. Today's day, if some breakup happens, people go into depression and 101 things that happen. But something to learn from Aindra Prabhu's material life is even his breakup was very spiritual. Right? So, as and when the Kirtan goes on, we'll discuss little bit about how Aindra Prabhu was a personality that I would say re-evolved the Hare Krishna Kirtan movement in the post-90s period, if I were to put that correctly. And yes, in order to appreciate a devotee, we must first learn to love the devotee. Just like Srila Prabhupada, we didn't know much about Srila Prabhupada. But when Srila Prabhupada's disciples tell about Srila Prabhupada's sacrifices, then in our heart, even though we have not seen that person, we have not seen Srila Prabhupada, we feel him in our heart. We feel him that he is present. And we feel that it's because of him we are what we are right now, spiritually speaking. So, same thing also goes for Aindra Prabhu. He was a very stalwart devotee, he was a very fired up devotee. And if you want to know more about him, then you have to learn to love the person for what he is. And then slowly his love for Krishna, his love for devotees will be understood by the devotee. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.